She said, "Do I look good in this dress?" I replied, "I'm having trouble looking away." That line left my mouth before my brain could stop it. Was supposed to be professional. Drop off the craft beer samples for the Heartline Hotel's charity gala, shake hands, say thank you for the opportunity, then get the hell out of my boss's house before I forgot she signed my checks. Instead, I was standing in the doorway of her walk-in closet, holding a clipboard, trying not to stare, while Olivia Hart turned in front of a full-length mirror in a dark green dress that made every thought in my head go off like a fire alarm. She had called it a quick favor when she texted me that morning. "Swing by the house. Need your opinion on the tasting menu. Bring the final numbers." I thought we would sit at her kitchen counter, look at spreadsheets, argue about portions. Normal stuff. Safe stuff. I did not think I would end up in her bedroom while she changed. To be fair, she did not plan it that way either. The zipper on the first dress broke. The second had a stain she only noticed in the daylight. Her stylist was stuck in traffic. Her sister was out of town. Her usual safety net was gone. So she had looked at me, cheeks a little pink, eyes sharp but tense, and said, "You're already here, Ethan. Just tell me yes or no. I trust you, to be honest." That was how I saw my boss slip into the third option, the dress she was wearing now. The fabric was simple, not overly shiny, hugging her waist and falling in a clean line to her knees. The color made her brown hair look richer, her skin warmer. The wide straps showed her shoulders without being too much. It was the most relaxed I had ever seen her look, and somehow also the most powerful. She tugged lightly at the neckline, looked at herself, then looked straight at me in the mirror. "Do I look good in this dress?" she asked. She added, softer, "You can be honest. I have to face the board, their wives, and my ex tonight. I don't have room for polite lies." I should have said something safe. Yes, very professional. Or, "It suits the event." Instead, my chest tightened, and the truth walked out of my mouth without permission. "I'm having trouble looking away," I said. Olivia turned from the mirror, now facing me for real, not just through glass. For a second, all the CEO armor slipped. Her lips parted like she had forgotten what she meant to say next. A small, surprised laugh escaped, and then one corner of her mouth lifted. "That honest, huh?" she asked. "I can tone it down," I said quickly, "if that was too much." "No," she said at once. "Don't. I asked for the truth." She took a slow breath, rolled her shoulders back, and something about her posture changed. The nervous woman trying on dresses faded. The Olivia I knew from the conference room slid back into place, only this version was wearing a dress I suddenly wanted to fight the world for. "I need them to underestimate me," she said. "My uncle, the old guard on the board, everyone who thinks I am still the scared girl who took over after my dad died. They're expecting an easy target tonight." I stepped farther into the room, lowering the clipboard. "What's happening exactly?" I asked. "You didn't say much in your text." Quote. She looked at the mirror again, but her eyes were far away, like she was replaying a meeting in her head. "They call it a strategy dinner," she said, "but really, it's a line in the sand. My uncle wants to push me out as CEO and bring in someone he can control. He has been hinting about it for months. Tonight he's bringing his choice to the table. A few of the board members already think I am too emotional and too attached to this town." "Because you keep using local vendors," I said. "Because I keep using you," she corrected softly. "And the bakery down the street. And the florist whose shop is hanging on by a thread. They want me to cut costs, cut people, cut anything that doesn't fit on a neat slide. So tonight is about the hotel," I said, "and about me." "And about me," she added. "They think they can use you as proof I don't make decisions with my head." I swallowed. "How?" She turned fully toward me, arms crossing over her chest like she was bracing for a hit. "My uncle knows you and I are close," she said carefully. I almost laughed. Close was not the word I would have used. I was her vendor, her neighbor, the guy who fixed her leaking sink once when maintenance was off duty, the guy who brought her coffee on the mornings she fell asleep at her desk, the guy who stayed late at the hotel bar the night she cried quietly in her office after a guest screamed at her about a mistake that wasn't her fault. But I knew what she meant. We talked more than a CEO and a supplier usually did. I answered her texts after hours. She remembered my sister's birthday. The lines were blurred in small ways. Dangerous ways, if someone wanted to twist them. He's been hinting that you got the contract because you know how to charm people, Olivia said, her mouth tight. He wants to paint you as some smooth talker and me as the fool who fell for it. I don't charm anyone, I said. I brew beer and send invoices. Her eyes softened just a little. You show up when people need you, she said. That is more dangerous to men like him than any fake charm. Silence settled between us. The only sounds were the soft hum of the air conditioner and the faint noise of a lawnmower outside. What do you need from me tonight? I asked. She blinked. What? You didn't invite me here just to judge dresses, I said. You could have asked any friend that question. You called me because you need something. So tell me what it is. Olivia's fingers curled around the edge of her vanity table. For a second, she looked almost shy, which was strange on her face. I was supposed to go in with a date, she said. Someone from one of the big city firms. A safe name, a safe suit, a safe story. He canceled this morning, said he. Couldn't be seen picking sides. Ugh. My jaw clenched. Convenient timing. Very, she said. It lets them say I came in alone. It lets them say I have no allies. She let go of the table and walked closer to me. The green dress moved with her. She stopped just an arm's length away. I am not offering you free rent or bigger orders, she said. This is not a deal. This is not leverage. If you say no, I'll go alone, and I'll figure it out like I always do. Quote. She met my eyes, steady and clear. But if you come with me tonight, she continued, I won't be walking into that room with a target painted on my back. I will be walking in with someone who knows the numbers and knows me. My heart thudded once, heavy and loud. I'm your vendor, I said quietly. Your uncle is already trying to turn that into a weapon. I know, she said. That is why I am asking you to choose, not because you owe me. Because you know what a room full of wolves looks like. I did. I had watched investors circle my dad before he lost the old bar. I knew what it looked like when men in nice watches decided you were small enough to chew. I looked at Olivia, at the dress, at the tension in her shoulders that wasn't fear exactly, but something close to it. What time? I asked. For the first time since I walked in, her expression broke into something almost like relief. 7, she said. Harborview Ballroom. You'll need a suit. I nodded once. Then I'll be there, I said. Her breath left her in a slow exhale. A real smile touched her mouth now, not the tight one she used for donors. Ethan, she said softly. Thank you. I didn't trust myself to answer, so I just lifted the clipboard again and glanced at the dress one more time. You still want the honest truth? I asked. She raised an eyebrow. Yes. You look like someone they should be scared of, I said. This time she laughed, and the sound followed me out of the room. By 6:15, my tie was still on my kitchen table, and my nerves were starting to sound like a broken fan. My name is Ethan Cole. I run a small craft brewery on the edge of Harborview, the kind of place where I can smell the mash from my bedroom window, and where regulars know which tap I am going to pull before I reach for it. Olivia Hart is my biggest client and my boss and everything that matters to the hotel. She owns the Hart Line, the tallest building in town, and most days she feels about 10 miles out of my league. Tonight I was supposed to walk into a room full of people who thought they were above both of us. My sister Jenna leaned against my doorway with a mug of tea, watching me wrestle with the tie. You look like someone is sending you to your own execution, she said. It is just dinner, I said. Right, she answered. Just dinner with your boss, her rich uncle, a board that wants to fire her, and your entire business on the line. Totally normal Thursday. I shot her a look. She grinned and stepped closer. Here, she said, you are going to strangle yourself. Turn around. I did. She looped the tie around my neck with the ease of someone who paid attention in high school while I was busy cleaning pint glasses. Are you going as her date or her shield? She asked. I am going as the guy who brings the numbers, I said. They want to say I am just a story. I am going to make it hard to pretend I do not exist. She tugged the knot tight, then straightened the lapels of my jacket. You always did like a good bar fight, she said. You just picked one with more paperwork. Outside, the sky was sliding from blue to deep gold. Harborview had that clean evening hum. Kids on bikes, someone grilling 3 houses down, the sound of the ocean if you listened between the cars. At 6:45, I parked in the lot below the Heartline. The hotel rose over the harbor, all glass and soft light. The Harborview Ballroom sat on the second floor, wrapped in windows that caught the last of the day. My phone buzzed. Olivia, are you here? Me, in the lobby. Olivia, stay there. I put the phone away and adjusted my jacket. The lobby smelled like polished wood and fresh flowers. Tourists drifted past with luggage and beach bags. None of them knew a war room was being set upstairs. The elevator doors slid open. Olivia stepped out. For a second, the room fell away. The green dress looked different under the hotel lights. Deeper, sharper. Her hair was pulled back, not in a severe knot, but in a way that showed her face. She was not wearing heavy jewelry, just small earrings and a simple bracelet that caught the light when she moved. Her eyes ran over me once, from my shoes to my tie, and some of the tightness in her shoulders eased. You clean up well, Ethan, she said. You look like someone they should not pick a fight with, I said. A real smile touched her mouth. Then she offered her arm. Walk in with me, she said. If I go up alone, they will smell blood before I sit down. I took her arm. It felt natural, warm, not clingy. She matched her pace to mine as we crossed the lobby. Ground rules, she said quietly as we stepped into the elevator. You are here as a vendor. If they push you, answer with facts, not feelings. I will handle anything personal. Got it, I said. And if my uncle tries to use you against me, she added, let me take that hit. Do not jump in just to defend my honor. This is business, not a movie. I wanted to tell her that defending her was not about honor, it was about not letting bullies take the room, but I nodded. The elevator opened to the second floor. Noise rolled toward us. Glass against glass. Laughter that was more about status than joy. The Harborview Ballroom doors stood open, light pouring out. Inside, the room looked like a magazine spread. White tablecloths, candles, a view of the harbor turning dark. Men in navy suits, women in dresses that cost more than my monthly rent. Heads turned when we walked in. Olivia's grip on my arm tightened for one heartbeat, then loosened again. She lifted her chin, spine straight, breathing steady. Smile if you want, she murmured, but you do not owe them a performance. I did not smile. I kept my expression neutral, solid. Let them try to guess what I was thinking. Olivia, a voice called. Her uncle moved toward us like the host of a show. Leonard Hart had the same strong jaw as Olivia, but none of the warmth. His tan looked expensive. His tie screamed old money. Nice of you to join us, he said. His eyes flicked to me. And you brought company. Leonard, this is Ethan Cole, she said. He runs Harborview Craft. Our local supplier. He shook my hand with a grip that tried to say he was still in charge. Ah, yes, he said. The famous beer man. I keep hearing your name in the same sentence as my nieces. His tone made it sound like a problem. Then you are hearing about the revenue, too, I said calmly. Bar sales are up 15% since we launched the local line. Your niece has the reports. A couple of board members standing nearby turned their heads. Numbers carried more weight than gossip. Leonard's smile tightened. I have seen the reports, he said. Tonight is not about beer. It is about the future of this company. It is about both, Olivia said, her voice smooth. Our future is built on choices like this. Her uncle looked at her, then at the room, then clapped his hands once. Well, he said, let us not keep the others waiting. They are eager to meet our guests, including you, Mr. Cole. He led us into the main circle, toward a cluster of board members and their spouses. Name tags, practiced laughs, the low hum of money. Olivia did the introductions. I remembered faces by what they cared about. One was obsessed with quarterly returns, one with legacy, one with the new wing that was over budget. Near the bar stood a man in a gray suit, glass of red wine in hand, watching us. His posture was soft, but his gaze was not. Olivia's shoulders stiffened when she saw him. That is Mark, she said under her breath. My ex. Of course he is here, I said. He works with my uncle's favorite consulting firm, she answered. They want him to help with the transition if I step down. He started toward us. Olivia's hand tightened on my arm again, then eased. She did not move away. She did not hide. Olivia, he said when he reached us, you look incredible. He turned to me, eyes sliding over my suit like he was checking a price tag. And this must be the local talent, he said. Mark Avery. Ethan, I said. I run the brewery. Right, he said. The passion project she put on all the menus. He smiled at Olivia, but his words were aimed like small knives. Passion projects are expensive, he added. The board will want to make sure they are not clouding your judgment. I felt the heat rise in my chest, but I kept my tone even. The local partnership increased your bar margins, I said. The numbers are clean. You are welcome to see them. Mark chuckled softly, like he was humoring a child. I am sure Olivia finds them very impressive, he said. She always did love a good story. He took a sip of his wine. Just be careful, he told her. People are already talking about how close you are to some of your vendors. It would be a shame if that became the headline instead of your hard work. Something in Olivia's jaw clicked. For a second, I thought she would snap back. Instead, she turned slightly, so she was facing him straight on. My hard work speaks for itself, she said. And if people are talking, they can come to me, not to you. He looked between us, eyes narrowing like he was taking a picture for later. We will see, he said. Enjoy your night. He walked away toward Leonard. Olivia exhaled once. Not shaky, controlled. That is how they will do it, she said quietly, not with one blow. With small comments, until everyone believes there is a conflict where there is not. Quote, they are wrong, I said. I know, she said. But they do not need truth. They need doubt. A bell chimed, calling everyone to the long table near the windows. Leonard took his place at the head, his candidate for future CEO seated on one side, Olivia on the other. She touched my arm lightly. Sit near the middle, she said. If they drag our partnership into this, I want you close enough to answer, not in the back of the room. I nodded. As I pulled out her chair, she looked up at me, that same question hiding in her eyes from the moment she tried on the dress. Remember what you said earlier? She asked. About having trouble looking away. Yeah, I said. Good, she replied. Tonight I need them looking at you too. Numbers, not rumors. She sat, the green dress catching the light, and for the first time I realized something. If this night went wrong, I could lose my biggest client. If it went right, I was going to be tied to Olivia Hart's future for a very long time. The clink of glasses sounded like a starting bell. I sat halfway down the long table, close enough to see Olivia's profile and Leonard's smirk. The harbor was a dark sheet of glass outside the windows. Inside, the lights were bright enough to make everyone look a little harsher. Name cards lined the table. Mine just said Ethan Cole, Harborview Craft. Simple. Accurate. Easy to ignore if they wanted to. Leonard stood and raised his glass. To family, he said, and to the future of Heartline Hospitality. Everyone murmured, lifted their drinks. Olivia lifted hers too, but she did not look at him. She looked straight ahead, eyes fixed on the candles in the center of the table. I took a small sip, more for show than taste. My name is Ethan Cole. I brew beer on the edge of town. Tonight I was the one thing in this room they thought they could bend into a weapon. Plates of salad came and went. There was small talk, hotel gossip, news about expansions in other cities. I kept quiet and listened. Leonard waited until the second course to move. So, he said, dabbing at his mouth with a napkin, since we're all here, it is the perfect time to talk strategy. Chairs shifted. A couple of board members straightened. As you know, he continued, we've been reviewing performance under Olivia's leadership. The hotel is doing well in some areas, but there are concerns. Concerns you have, Olivia said, voice even. Concerns the board has, he corrected, about risk. About emotional decision-making. About local partnerships that may not be in the company's best financial interest. Eyes slid toward me, then back to him. Olivia set her fork down, hands neat on the table. You have the numbers, she said. Bar revenue is up. Guest satisfaction scores are up. Repeat bookings are up. Leonard smiled like she had proved his point. Yes, for now, he said. But we cannot run a company this size on feelings and hometown loyalty. We need discipline. We need someone who is not afraid to make hard cuts. He gestured to the man seated near him, the candidate he had talked about. This is Daniel Pierce, he said. He has turned around 3 properties bigger than this one. He believes we are carrying too much sentimental weight. Daniel gave a practiced nod, the kind you learn in rooms like this. I respect what Olivia has done, he said, but I have looked at some of the local contracts. There are deals here that a neutral party would never have signed. He did not look at me when he said it. That almost made it worse. Olivia glanced down the table, eyes flicking to me, then back to Daniel. Which contracts, specifically? She asked. Daniel folded his hands. The brewery, for one, he said. Harborview Craft, generous placement, prime menu space, long-term pricing, all for a vendor with no national reputation. He finally turned his head and gave me a polite, almost bored smile. I am sure your beer is very good, he added. But the optics are poor. I kept my voice calm. Bar sales went up after we launched the local line, I said. 15%, like I told Leonard. The cocktails using our product are now top sellers. Guests post about them. They tag the hotel. That is not an opinion. That is data. A board member on Daniel's other side cleared her throat. Do we have those numbers? She asked. Yes, Olivia said at once. They were in the Q2 report. Of course, Leonard cut in. But numbers do not erase perception. There is talk, Olivia. People notice how often you are seen with certain vendors. They question whether you are making decisions with your heart or your head. He let that hang in the air. The implication sat between us like a stain. Olivia's jaw tightened. My personal life is not a board matter, she said. Your judgment is, Leonard replied. When it affects this company. Silence pressed at the edges of the table. Someone set a glass down a little too hard. Across from me, Mark watched with open interest, like he was enjoying a show he had already seen. Daniel cleared his throat. No one is accusing you of anything improper, he said in a smooth tone, which meant that was exactly what they were doing. We are simply asking whether there is a conflict of interest. A board member leaned forward. Mr. Cole, he said to me, how did you get the Heartline contract? By pitching it, I said. 3 years ago, before Olivia took over. Her father tasted a seasonal stout I brought to a fundraiser. He asked for a formal proposal. We beat 2 other regional distributors on price and flexibility. I still have the emails if you want them. The man nodded slowly. And your relationship with Ms. Hart? He asked. Outside of business. I kept my gaze steady. She is my client, I said. She runs the hotel. I run the brewery. We live in the same town. In a place this size, lives overlap. That sounds very neat, Leonard said. But we have seen you together. Late meetings, dinners, deliveries after dark. He glanced around, inviting others to nod along. It would be naive to pretend people are not talking, he added. My chest burned, not from shame, from anger. With respect, I said, if we are talking about optics, maybe we should look at all of them. Guests love local partnerships. You get press for supporting small businesses. The town sees you as part of them, not above them. That is worth something. Daniel raised an eyebrow. What exactly are you implying, Mr. Cole? He asked. I am saying the numbers work, I replied. And the story works, unless someone wants to twist it into something else. Mark laughed softly. Careful, he said. You are starting to sound like you think there is a conspiracy. I looked at him. I think there are people in this room who prefer a narrative where Olivia fails, I said, because it makes their own plans easier. The air changed. A few forks paused. Leonard's eyes cooled. This is exactly the problem, he said. Emotion, defensiveness, drama. This is why we need someone like Daniel. Someone who can step back and make the hard choices. He picked up his glass again, but he did not drink. I propose, he said, that the board schedule a formal vote next week on whether to retain Olivia as CEO or transition leadership to Daniel. That is not on the agenda, Olivia said. We are allowed to add items. He replied, and given recent concerns about your judgment and your close ties to certain vendors, it is important we move quickly. He looked down the table. All in favor of adding the leadership vote to next week's meeting calendar? Hands lifted. Not all of them. Enough. I felt something cold settle under my ribs. This was how it started. Not with firing. With a date. Olivia did not flinch. You can schedule whatever vote you want, she said, but you do not get to smear my decisions without evidence. The brewery contract is clean. Our vendor relationships are clean. Leonard smiled. I hope so, he said, because earlier today I received an anonymous email, screenshots, messages, photos. He tapped his phone. Someone out there believes your relationship with Mr. Cole is more than business, he said. If that story hits the wrong ears, we all have a problem. He let his gaze slide to me. Tomorrow morning, an ethics consultant will review all contracts tied to you, he said. If they find even a hint of favoritism, Olivia, the board will not wait for a vote. They will demand you step aside. Olivia's fingers tightened around her water glass. Her eyes found mine across the table. For the first time all night, I saw something close to fear. Not for herself. For what this could do to everything she had built. The rest of dinner blurred. Dessert tasted like nothing. People talked about market trends and hotel renovations, while a clock I could not see started counting down. When it was finally over, guests drifted toward the balcony. Leonard shook hands. Daniel accepted congratulations. Mark gave Olivia a look that said he thought he knew how this story ended. Olivia stepped away from the crowd and moved to the far end of the room, near a window. The harbor lights reflected in the glass behind her. I joined her, my chest still tight. I am sorry, I said quietly. This is my fault. Her head snapped toward me. Do not do that, she said. He would have found another angle, another face. You are just the one he thinks he can aim at me. She looked back at the water. They want to crush me with rumors, she said. Make me look weak, reckless, compromised. Her hand lifted, then dropped again, like she wanted to reach for something and stopped herself. What are you going to do? I asked. She drew a slow breath. I am going to fight, she said, but I am not going to do it in their shadows. She finally turned fully to me. Tomorrow, she said, when that ethics consultant shows up, I want you there. Every document between Heartline and Harborview Craft, every invoice, every bid, all of it. Her eyes were clear now, determined. If they are going to come for us, she said, we are going to meet them in the light. By 8 the next morning, my office smelled like coffee and paper. My name is Ethan Cole. I brew beer at the edge of Harborview, and I was currently surrounded by every contract, invoice, and email chain I had ever touched with the Heartline Hotel. Olivia had been clear the night before. If they are going to come for us, we are going to meet them in the light. So that was what I did. I printed copies of my original bid to her father, the comparison sheets with the big distributors, the emails where Leonard himself praised the local program for the good press. I felt less like a brewer and more like a man building a wall out of paper. At 10, I walked into the Heartline with 2 thick folders under my arm. Olivia met me in the lobby this time. No dress, no armor, just a white blouse, dark pants, and her hair tied back with a simple band. Her eyes looked tired, but her shoulders were straight. In there, she said, nodding toward a small conference room off the main hall. Ethics consultant. My uncle. 2 board members. You okay? I asked. No, she said, but I am ready. We stepped inside. The ethics consultant sat at the end of the table. A woman in her 40s, neat suit, glasses, a notebook in front of her. Her badge read Rivera. Leonard sat to her left, Mark beside him like a shadow. 2 board members sat across from them. Ms. Rivera stood as we entered. Ms. Hart, she said. Mr. Cole, thank you for coming. Olivia gestured to the folders in my hands. We brought everything, she said. Contracts, bids, invoices, emails. You can have full access. Good, Ms. Rivera said. Please sit. We did. Leonard leaned back in his chair, hands folded. For the record, he said, my role here is simply to protect the company. Olivia did not answer. Ms. Rivera opened a thin file of her own. I was asked to review 2 things, she said. The contract between Heartline and Harborview Craft, and any personal relationship between Ms. Hart and Mr. Cole that could be seen as a conflict of interest. Her eyes moved between us. Calm, neutral. First, the contract, she said. Mr. Cole, how did it start? I slid one folder toward her. 3 years ago, I said, I brought a seasonal stout to a charity event. Mr. Hart asked me for a formal proposal. Here is my bid, and here are the bids from 2 larger distributors. You can see we were lower on price and higher on flexibility. He chose us. That was before Olivia was CEO. She flipped through the pages, scanned the dates, nodded once, and set them aside. And the renewals? She asked. I pushed the next set forward. Yearly, I said. Each time we matched or beat national pricing. We added seasonal lines only after they proved themselves in sales. Ms. Rivera looked at Olivia. And your side? She asked. Olivia slid a small stack of hotel documents across. These are our bar reports, she said, month by month. You will see the jump when we brought in local craft. You will also see a note from Leonard here. She pointed to a line. Ms. Rivera adjusted her glasses and read. Leonard's own words sat on the page. Local program is strong press. Guests like the story. Keep pushing it. Something flickered in Ms. Rivera's eyes. She turned to Leonard. You endorsed this program, she said. At the time, he replied, before new information came to light. Ms. Rivera closed the folder gently. We will come back to that, she said. Let us talk about the personal side. Her tone stayed even. Mr. Cole, she said. Outside of work, what is your relationship with Miss Hart? I felt Olivia's gaze on me, but I kept my eyes on Ms. Rivera. We live in the same town, I said. We see each other at the diner, on the street, at the hotel. Sometimes we grab coffee. We talk about work and about life. We are close. I will not pretend we are strangers. And romantic? She asked. Olivia answered before I could. We have feelings for each other, she said, voice steady. We have been careful. No hidden deals, no special pricing, no secret contracts. If you look at the timeline, the business came first. The rest came after. Ms. Rivera watched her for a long, quiet moment. Thank you for being direct, she said. That makes this easier. Leonard jumped in. Easier to see the problem, he said. A CEO involved with a vendor she promotes is textbook conflict of interest. And yet, Ms. Rivera said, the documents do not show favoritism. The terms match or beat market. The hotel profits. There is no extra benefit in writing here. She tapped the stacks of paper gently. What I do see, she said, is a board member who praised this program, then later used it as a weapon when it suited him. Leonard's jaw tightened. My concern is optics, he said. Public trust. There are photos, messages. The story in town is... He stopped when Ms. Rivera raised a hand. I have seen the screenshots, she said. They look like 2 adults eating dinner and exchanging kind messages. There is no proof of bribery, gifts, or secret deals. Mark shifted in his chair, ready to speak, but she turned to him. You are her ex, she said simply. Your view comes with its own bias. His mouth snapped shut. She looked back at Olivia and me. Here is my finding, she said. Your relationship is personal, yes. It also appears to be handled with care. The contract is sound. The pricing is fair. There is no ethics breach here. Air left my lungs in a slow, stunned breath. Olivia's shoulders dropped a fraction, like someone had taken a weight off her back. Ms. Rivera was not finished. However, she said, looking at Leonard now, there is another issue. The use of anonymous emails, half-stories, and old photos to push a leadership change. That pattern concerns me more than 2 people who happen to care about each other. Quote. One of the board members cleared his throat. What are you saying? He asked. I am saying, Ms. Rivera answered, that if this company chooses to punish clean contracts and reward rumor, you do not have an ethics problem with your CEO. You have one with your culture. The room went very still. I will present my report to the full board this evening, she said. I suggest you all read it very carefully before any vote. She gathered her notes, stood and nodded once. Thank you for your time, she said to us. Then she walked out. For a moment, no one moved. Leonard's face had gone pale. This is not over, he said. Olivia pushed her chair back and stood. Yes, she said. It is. She looked at the board members. I will see you tonight, she told them. Read every line. Then she turned and walked out of the room. I followed. In the hallway, away from their eyes, she stopped and leaned back against the wall. Her hands shook once, then stilled. You did it, I said quietly. You kept it clean. You told the truth. We did it, she said. You brought proof. I brought a spine. Not a bad team. Her eyes were glassy, but she did not cry. She never broke in front of anyone, not even me. What happens tonight? I asked. We see who still has a backbone, she said, and who only had one when it was easy. That night, the board met again. This time, I sat in the back of the room with a few other department heads. Ms. Rivera stood at the front, calm, her report on the screen. She walked them through every line. Clean contract, fair pricing, strong performance. Then she turned to the second half. The email, the rumors, the push to paint a personal relationship as dirty when the numbers said otherwise. Halfway through, one of the older board members removed his glasses and rubbed his eyes. This is ugly, he said, not on Olivia's side. Another spoke. I move that we close the leadership question, she said. No vote on replacing Olivia. No change in CEO. And Leonard? Someone asked. Ms. Rivera did not answer. She did not have to. The woman who had moved the motion looked right at him. I also move we remove Leonard as head of the Ethics and Strategy Committee, she said. We need someone who does not use those words as weapons. The vote was not close. When it was over, Leonard walked out without looking at anyone. Daniel slipped away behind him. Mark was nowhere in sight. Olivia stayed seated at the head of the table, hands on the wood, head bowed for a long moment. Then she stood and thanked the board in a clear, even voice. I waited in the hallway. When the doors opened, people filed past with small nods in my direction. Ms. Rivera walked by, paused, and offered her hand. Keep your paperwork this tidy, she said. You will be fine. Thank you, I said. She gave a small smile and left. Olivia stepped out last. The green dress from the first night was gone. She wore the same simple blouse and pants from that morning, but something in her was lighter. Not soft. Just free. Come on, she said. I cannot breathe in this building one more minute. We ended up at my brewery, on the small back porch that looked over the parking lot and a slice of town. The night was cool. The string lights we had hung for weekend events cast a warm, soft glow. I handed her a sweatshirt with the brewery logo on it. She pulled it on over her blouse, sleeves long, hands disappearing inside like she was hiding from the cold and from the last few days. This suits you more than that ballroom, I said. She looked down at herself and huffed a small laugh. I think you might be right, she said. We stood side by side, leaning on the railing, watching the lights of Harborview blink. They are going to expect you to walk on eggshells now, I said, because of us. I am not going to hide, she said, not anymore. She turned to face me fully. I told them in there that if they ever want to question my choices again, they can do it with numbers, she said. If they ever want to question us, they can do it to our faces. Us, I repeated. She nodded, eyes steady. I am tired of pretending I do not care about you, she said. I am tired of acting like every text or coffee is some secret to be ashamed of. We did this right. We told the truth. We kept the work clean. I am not going to punish us because other people tried to twist it. My chest felt too full. So what now? I asked. Now, she said, stepping closer. I tell the board that I will recuse myself from any future pricing decisions about the brewery. We let legal draft something neat that keeps them calm. And I tell you that whatever happens with contracts, I still want you in my life. She reached up and took my hand. Her fingers were warm inside the sleeve. I asked you a question in my bedroom yesterday, she said. Do you remember? Do I look good in this dress? I said. And you said you were having trouble looking away, she answered. Her eyes searched mine, like she was checking if the world was safe yet. So I am asking you something else now, she said. Not as your boss, not as a client, just as Olivia. If we do this for real, if we stop hiding and start being honest about us, are you going to look away when it gets hard? I stepped in, closing the last bit of space between us. My free hand rested at her waist, steady. No, I said. I am not, quote. She rose onto her toes and kissed me. No rush, no secret. Just a quiet, sure press of lips that felt like an answer to a question we had both been holding on to for too long. When we pulled back, she stayed close, forehead resting against mine. Good, she whispered, because I am done picking men who only like me when I make their lives easy. I smiled, small and real. You do not make my life easy, I said. Sorry, she replied. Do not be, I said. You make it real. She looked up at me again, eyes soft now, not for the board, not for a room full of investors, just for me. Do I still look good? She asked quietly, even without the dress. I took in the too big sweatshirt, the tired eyes, the strong line of her jaw. I am still having trouble looking away, I said. This time, I did not try to stop the truth.